Present.
Trustee Daly.
Present.
All present and accounted for, one way or another. And this time I'd like to introduce Scout Troop 290, who are here to post the colors and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
There he is.
Audience attention. Play guard attention. Audience, please rise. Play guard, forward march.
That's right, there was some Boy Scouts, I forgot about that.
Halt. Play guard, post the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Play guard, about face. Play guard, retreat the rank. Play guard, halt. Play guard, dismiss with our thanks, audience at ease.
Round of applause. Right. Bring the rest of the troop out here so I can get some flag catch. Oh, you're too big to be a scout.
Probably against the other line.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Look for a motion to approve the minutes of the December 11th Village Board and the December 11th Executive Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Would the clerk please poll the board?
Trustee Kozak absent. Trustee Conley. Aye. Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
Aye.
5 aye votes, no nays, motion carries. List of bills has been provided. A motion is in order.
Make a motion to approve the expenditures as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the expenditures as presented. Would the clerk please poll the board?
Trustee Kozak absent. Trustee Conley. Aye. Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
Aye.
5 aye votes, no nays, motion carries. We have a presentation of a retirement plaque for 39 years service award for Frederick Schlapp, Deputy Fire Chief. Wow.
How did I miss me?
Show up this way.
Okay.
All my rewards, it's fine.
Congratulations.
Razor broke. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations again.
What are you going to do with the rest of your life?
I think just play with the grandkids, go traveling, go to the movies.
Sounds good. I'll leave my number with you, just to...
Some consulting.
Well, strategic plan for the Forest Preserve District of Cook County by Deputy Director, no, Director of, and he's got more life than I have, so.
Good evening.
What is your job title, by the way?
My name is John McCabe. I am the Director of the Department of Resource Management at the Forest Preserves of Cook County. President Larson, trustees, staff, members of the public, thank you very much for a few minutes tonight for me to come here and talk about the Forest Preserve District for a few minutes. My presentation is only about 30 minutes. The good news is I'm going to do it in about 5. Right? So the Forest Preserve's mission, I'm going to be kind of looking up here. The kind of key things that we focus on is the restore and manage lands, protecting and preserving for the education, pleasure, and recreation of the general public. What a lot of people don't know is that the Forest Preserve has been around for a very long time, over 100 years now. We started back in 1915, make up over 11% of Cook County at almost 70,000 acres of land. We are the oldest and largest forest preserve in the United States. And when you think about that in a county of 5.2 million people, it's pretty impressive. And I know while we don't have any forest preserve property directly in the village of Schaumburg, we have a lot of properties that are right next door. Our strategic plan that we wanted to touch base on very quickly is the Next Century Conservation Plan. As I said, we were over 100 years old, and it wasn't until 3 years ago that we had this plan in place. So not that we weren't doing certain things and doing things the right way, but we now have a plan and a guiding document for over the next 25 years. This focuses on 4 key areas. My favorite, which is nature, people, because without the support of the people, the general public, the users that are preserved, we can't have the nature side. The preserve wouldn't exist, right? The leadership piece, as everybody knows, the political climate, the way those winds blow depends on how leadership changes at the Forest Preserve. One day conservation is important, a new administration comes in, it's not anymore. This plan has set a course to hopefully supersede some of those changes and make sure conservation remains a key focus of the Forest Preserve. And then of course another very important piece is the economy side of things, the funding piece, and we want communities like yourselves, like communities like Elk Grove that have Bussey Woods within their bounds to recognize the economic value of the Forest Preserve and the economic driver that it could be for your community. People going to the Forest Preserve or passing through your community are stopping there, visiting your businesses, your gas stations, things like that. The Forest Preserve is comprised of a bunch of different habitats, just a couple of cool pictures here to show you, woodlands, savannas, prairies, and wetlands. Another sort of key thing that people don't recognize is that we are the home and the only home for a lot of threatened and endangered species that are found in Northeast Illinois. These are just a couple of examples of some of the, from an insect standpoint to a plant, to a couple of the more famous ones like the bald eagle. And while the North American river otter isn't a threatened or endangered species, it's very rare. And it has been found in the forest preserves of Cook County in larger numbers over the last couple of years. Having seen one up close, it's really cool. Although you would not want to tangle with one, I can tell you that, as cute as he looks. Ecosystem service is another thing that people don't necessarily recognize about the Forest Preserve. You think you have trouble with stormwater now, imagine if the 70,000 acres of the Forest Preserve that were soaking up what we're soaking up wasn't there, and that was all impermeable surfaces, okay? So even from that standpoint, we're the largest cooling island in Cook County. 70,000 acres of trees and green vegetation that's cleaning our air and helping to keep the temperatures down at least a little bit, not to mention, again, the plant and animal part in general. Habitat restoration, again, getting back to my department and what we love to do. This is a picture of Bluff Spring Fen out in Elgin. That looks cool. It's very nearby. It's a 20-minute ride from here. You can go out there in May, June, July, and see the purple coneflower in bloom like this. The Next Century Conservation Plan allowed us to create the Natural and Cultural Resources Master Plan. One of the key goals of the Next Century Conservation Plan was to restore 30,000 acres in the next 25 years. Now, when I started this job, I was 6'2" with a full head of hair. When I heard that I had to restore 30,000 acres in 25 years, the hairline receded a little further. But me and my staff took that as a real challenge. And the ability to be able to try to attack that came through this Natural and Cultural Resources Master Plan, where we worked with the Prairie Research Institute out of the University of Illinois to prioritize and identify those 30,000 acres. We've done that. We've started work on that. This is not a plan that's sitting on the shelf collecting dust. You can go out to Bussey Woods, if you like to ride the trail there. When you go north of the elk pen and you're riding through the nature preserve, you will see a lot of work that started on one of our highest priority sites in the entire Forest Preserve District. On the left, a before picture, invasive species, buckthorn and honeysuckle, and on the right, after it's been removed. It's going to take a couple of more growing seasons for that picture on the right-hand side to start to look like the woods in Bussey Woods. But we got to start somewhere. Prescribed fire, we've been able to implement prescribed fire on a larger scale over the last couple of years. This is Bussey Woods, this is Higgins Road as you're heading west. Just east of 53 and 290, this is a fire that we did in spring of 2017. The support of our local communities, our local elected officials, our local fire departments is key in the success of our programs like this. Stewardship, ecological stewardship, volunteering in the forest preserves to remove invasive species and help us heal the land is our biggest volunteer program by a long shot. We have about 5,000 to 6,000 dedicated volunteer stewards that work in this program. On any given weekend, you can find 20 different work days across the county doing this type of work, including in Bussey Woods and several other preserves just to the west of here. While that's not the only sort of volunteering we have, you could become a trail watch volunteer. You could be a docent at one of our nature centers. So there's a lot of different opportunities. This picture here of volunteers sorting seeds that are then going to be replanted back out in the forest preserve. Outdoor recreation, this is how most people know us. So bike trails, paved bike trails are a key way that we engage the general public. I know the village of Schaumburg knows that, as in putting the bridge in that's going to connect to Paul Douglas Preserve, that's awesome, and then putting the spur in on the south side of Gulf Road that connects to Bussey Woods Bike Trail, another great feature in connecting. I live in Elk Grove, I ride my bike through Bussey Woods, cross under Woodfield and go shopping at the Whole Foods. I take advantage of it as well. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these things, but over 40 lakes that we manage for fishing, boat rental like the one in Bussey Woods that you could take advantage of, 3 aquatic centers, 300 picnic groves. That's, again, a great way that we reach people. Sledding hills, cross-country skiing, zip line adventure course down in Western Springs, disc golf course out at Rolling Knolls, which is in Hanover Park. 5 camping locations. We redid our campgrounds a couple of years ago. The one closest to here is Camp Reinberg at the very top of the screen up in Deer Grove. These are state-of-the-art, brand-new campgrounds. It's almost like you're not camping. I'm sort of ashamed to admit it. But they are very nice. If you don't have the time to take a longer weekend trip, this is a hop, skip, and a jump, and it's very affordable.
There are cabins there too, don't they?
Yep, cabins, they're heated. We're open all winter. So you got heated cabins. A lot of the cabins have a restroom built in, but if not, we have the community showers set up now and restroom, which is very, very nice. Anybody who's been camping at a state park or any place knows that the restroom situation is important. Hence the shutdown situation. It sounds like they're finally closing some of the national parks due to that. So please take advantage of Camp Reinberg or any one of the other ones. 6 nature centers. Again, this is another gateway for us. A lot of people know us through our nature centers. The one closest to here is Crabtree Nature Center, and I understand you have a very good nature center right here in the village of Schaumburg that I've been to many times myself. But if you're looking for a little change of pace, Crabtree is a short drive from there. River Trail Nature Center up in Northbrook is also very close by, and almost everybody knows the Little Red Schoolhouse. Education and outreach is a key part of what we do, not only in our Department of Resource Management, but certainly out of our nature centers. We go into a lot of schools. We provide a lot of science programming with schools that come out to our nature centers. So there's a lot of activity that way for the Forest Preserve to engage with you. Special events. We host over 100 different events throughout the year. Most of them are free or very little cost. So like our Maple Syrup Fest at River Trail or our Art and Nature up at Crabtree in the fall. Explore the Forest at Crabtree Nature Center. All of these events are free. Great to take the kids to. And you can kill a couple of hours, and I guarantee you when you bring them home, they're going to sleep for a couple of hours. Another thing a lot of people don't know about the Forest Preserve is that the Chicago Botanic Garden and the Brookfield Zoo are part of the Forest Preserve. And they are 2 of our strongest supporters and key partners for us. They are on Forest Preserve property. We have the longest private-public partnership with Brookfield Zoo and the Chicago Zoological Society dating back to the 1920s. So anytime that you visit these 2 facilities, you are on Forest Preserve District property. Again, as I said, 100 years and growing. Now please watch this slide if it works the way it's supposed to, and it's not. So It's supposed to transition and show you the land use change over a couple of years, but this is what it ends up looking like. So in 1843, undeveloped land in green, 2015, everything that's developed in red. The little bit of green that you see there is the forest preserves of Cook County. And let's all be honest, if that wasn't set aside back in 1915 and then over the ensuing years, it would all be red by now. And so you guys, I know in this town, have done a very good job of setting aside open space as well. But just to show you the value of the forest preserve in Cook County. Thank you very much, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
What happened to the deer in Bussy Woods?
What happened to
The deer?
the elk?
No,
Yeah.
no, the deer. There was a resident deer herd in Bussy Woods, and up until 3 years ago, in the evening, you could see them grazing near 53. I'm wondering, was it managed?
We do manage deer. If we didn't manage the deer population in some of these key locations, they would devastate the vegetation that we're spending a lot of money to try to restore.
There'd be a browse line there. Is
The
that
browse line, right. So if you could tell them area that's been managed for deer and one that it either has a browse line or it does not, and your vegetation, your sensitive conservative plant species, the deer like, we call them deer candy. The other thing that helps minimize is deer vehicle collisions too, by reducing those populations, not to mention the disease issue related to transfer with deer.
questions from the, Trustee Dunham?
Two questions. Where did you say Crabtree is located?
Crabtree is in Barrington, right off of Palatine Road, just west of Barrington Road.
The second question, how are the elk doing?
The elk are doing very fine. There's 3 elk in there right now, actually 4, we had a calf, and we are in the process of bringing in additional elk. The difficulty with that is the permitting process with getting them through different state lines from where we get them from. It's a very rigorous process that the USDA puts us through, but a good one.
Further questions, comments on the board? Trustee Conley?
Is the report available and the plan available on your website, or where could a person get it?
Yes, everything is on our website. Very good question. Is the plan available? A lot of the information I covered here tonight is all available on our website.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, thank you for your time. Lastly, I would like to share with you our 2019 Forest Preserves Cook County calendar. Each month, we do a public photo contest, and we select the winners for each month for the calendar, and we hand these out for free at our nature centers. I have about 50 of them with me that I'll leave here tonight for you and members of the general public that had to sit through my presentation. Thank you for your patience. But certainly a couple here for you. It lists out all the different special events for the Forest Preserve throughout the year on the calendar, so you won't miss any of the events I talked about tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Liquor license request. Request from Melissa Alice, no, Guyana? Help here. Guyana
Alyssa Guy Manny
for Class
Dan
F.
Ty.
Oh, Dan Ty, yeah.
Class F for your location on Schaumburg Road.
Yes.
Can you tell us what your plans are for that location?
Pardon me?
Can you tell us what your plans are at that location? What you're requesting the liquor license for?
Oh,
What
yes.
types of alcohol you plan to serve?
We have a dining room, so about, what, 45 right now. Then we request for the, serve just beer and wine, that's all. You know, like a different occasion, birthday, some, customer need a birthday, have wine or beer. That's about it, yes, nothing else.
Comments from the board? Any questions from the board? You want to-
That's my Thai restaurant, so I want them to stay in business, so.
Yes. Just beer and wine, that's all, occasion, celebrate for the customer because they cannot bring anything in, we don't have anything to serve, so,
Sounds like a good idea.
yes. Good idea.
You want to pick up the necessary paperwork from the Liquor Commissioner's Office to be a background check by the Police Department, positive response on that, as well as payment, as evidence that you paid the appropriate fee, a license will be issued. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Request from Mr. Kalagar, license for a restaurant on Schaumburg Road.
Hi, I'm Vijay. I'm from Bawarchi Biryanis. So we applied for the beer and wine license.
You want to indicate to the board what your plans are at that location?
Sorry?
This is an existing restaurant,
Oh, yes,
and you're adding beer and wine, right? That's what your request is?
yes.
Any questions from the board? Any objections from the board? Is that a question, trustee Connolly?
No question.
Fine, you want to pick up the necessary paperwork from the Liquor Commissioner's office, be a background check by the police department, evidence that you passed that treatment, and payment of the appropriate fee, a license will be issued. Welcome to Schaumburg.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now it is my distinct pleasure to turn the microphone and the announcements over to our very competent village clerk, Marilyn Carr.
The consent agenda, 1, correspondence. The motion would be to approve the request from Viper Owners Association of Illinois to hold a raffle on February 16th, 2019 at the Schaumburg Marriott, 50 North Martingale Road, to grant a variance to Code Section 117.31 and to waive the fidelity bond requirement. B, the motion would be to approve the request from the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Chicago to hold a raffle on January 13th, 2019 at the Schaumburg Renaissance Hotel and Convention Center, 1551 North Thoreau Drive, and to grant a variance to Code Section 117.31. 2, Engineering and Public Works Committee. A, the motion would be to approve a resolution accepting the Pleasant Square Phase 1 and Phase 2 public improvements and direct staff to obtain a bill of sale from the developer for all public improvements being accepted. B, the motion would be to approve the request, the required resolution, and authorize the village manager to execute the 6th Amendment to the lease agreement between CHNA LLC of Chicago, Illinois, and the Village of Schaumburg for 118 to 1120 Morse Avenue. C, the motion would be to approve participation in the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance and authorize issuance of a purchase order to F.H. Pasham of Chicago, Illinois, for the installation of a bulk water filling station project in the amount of $77,437.71. D, the motion would be to waive competitive bidding and award the contract for HVAC maintenance services with Hayes Mechanical of Chicago, Illinois, beginning January 9th, 2019, for a term of 1 year with 3 optional 1-year extensions, not to exceed the approved budget. 3, Committee of the Whole. A, the motion would be to approve a resolution approving and authorizing 6B classification for 1620 North Penny Lane, Schaumburg, Illinois, BEM CNC. B, the motion would be to approve a resolution authorizing changes to the benefits handbook. C, the motion would be to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 153 of the Municipal Building Code to add 2 additional exceptions to Sections R314.2.2 and R315.2.2 regarding the enforcement of smoke alarm and CO2 detector requirements. D, the motion would be to accept the proposed 2019 capital bill projects and direct staff to submit them for consideration to the state of Illinois when there is a call for projects. E, the motion would be to accept the multi-year capital improvement plan and approve the projects for year 2019-20 for incorporation into the budget. 4, Planning, Building, and Development Committee. The motion would be to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 41 to adjust commercial and new residential building permit fees effective May 1st, 2019, and an amendment to Chapter 153 establishing an appeal process for building permit fees. B, the motion would be to approve an ordinance amending Title 3, Chapter 41, Village Fee Schedule, Title 9, Chapter 109, Special Events, and Title 11, Chapter 117, fundraising activities with regard to special events, fundraising, and raffle permit license fees. C, the motion would be to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 98.
Vote,
Five-
please.
Who pulled? David.
Trustee Daley?
5, Zoning Board of Appeals. The motion would be to approve a special use for ground-level pharmacy and variation to allowed size of ground-level use for Bravona Pharmacy, 1600 McConnor Parkway. B, the recommendation would be to approve a plat of easement and vacation, plat of consolidation and building setback variation for Design Build Storage LLC, 2401 Palmer Drive. 6, resolutions. The motion would be to adopt as Resolution R-19-001, accepting the Pleasant Square Phase 1 and Phase 2 public improvements. B, the motion would be to adopt as Resolution Number R-19-002, authorizing the village manager to execute a 6th amendment to the lease for 1118 to 1120 Morse Avenue. C, the motion would be to adopt as Resolution R-19-003, amending portions of the Benefits Handbook for employees of the Village of Schaumburg, winter 2019. D, the motion would be to adopt as Resolution R-19-004, approving and authorizing a 6B classification for 1620 North Penny Lane, Schaumburg, Illinois, BEM CNC. E, the motion would be to adopt as Resolution R-19-005, authorizing the village president and village clerk to execute an agreement between the Village of Schaumburg and Woodfield Mall LLC for the acquisition of temporary and permanent easement grants along Woodfield Road, Meacham Road to Martingale Road, and Martingale Road to East Frontage Road. 7, ordinances. The motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 19-001, granting a special use for ground level pharmacy and variation to allow size of ground level use for Bravona Pharmacy, 1600 McConnor Parkway. B, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance 002, excuse me, I lost my place, granting a plat of easement and vacation, plat of consolidation and building setback variation for Design Build Storage LLC, 2401 Palmer Drive. The motion would be, C, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance 19-003, amending the 2015 International Residential Code. D, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance 19-004, amending the municipal code of the Village of Schaumburg, Title III, various sections of the fee schedule, commercial and residential permit fees, and Title 15, Chapter 153, Section 03.5, relating to appeal of building permit fee calculation. E, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance 19-005, amending Title III, Chapter 41, Section 1, Title 9, Chapter 109, Section 3, Title 9, Chapter 109, Section 6, Title 11, Chapter 117, Section 12, and Title 11, Chapter 117, Section 31 of the Schaumburg Code with regard to special events, fundraising and raffle permit and license fees. F.
Vote, please.
F is pulled. And that would be ordinance amending Title 9, Section 9, Chapter 98, Section 5, and Title 9, Chapter 98, Section 18 of the Schaumburg Village Code with regard to condominiums. This concludes the consent agenda.
A motion on the consent agenda is in order.
The motion would be to approve it with the exception of items 4C and 7F as indicated.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Would the clerk please poll the board?
Trustee Conley.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madey.
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Comments from the audience?
Committee reports.
Committee reports, excuse me. Trustee Daly,
Yes.
that's your
Thank you.
purview?
So I asked for this item to be pulled off the agenda. There seems to be, certainly, I got the impression there seems to be some confusion at the board level, maybe even staff level and others, as to what we were, the purpose here was and what we were looking to do. And therefore, I'd like to suggest that we refer this back to Planning, Building, Development for some further discussion and options as to where we go with this.
When will that meeting take place?
You know, I think, given the complexity of this issue and the fact that staff has not really done any extensive research at this time, it's probably going to take us between 60 and 90 days to have something ready for the board to review. So I would anticipate it would be no earlier than April, that we would be ready to come back with something for the committee's consideration.
Further comments from the board? Comments from the audience?
We need to.
Committee reports, excuse me.
We need to make a motion.
So,
A motion is in order on
to refer the matter back to PBD after staff does research.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Would the clerk please poll the board?
Trustee Conley.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madey. Trustee
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
Aye.
5 ayes, votes, no nays, motion carries. Now committee reports. We refer that matter back to the committee. Comments from the audience? Any, give an open microphone and keep your
Hi. I'm Carol Lobaugh.
comments fairly brief because
I will be very brief.
we've got all these other folks
Yeah.
too.
So I just want to say thank you. I'm Carol Lobaugh. I live at 196 Glasgow. We are some of the people that are concerned about the ordinance, and so I just want to thank you for at least taking the time to really think it through and to consider, what the outcomes are. And we'll see you in
Certainly,
April.
we'll share that information with you and whomever.
Thank you.
Would you please sign my name on my sheet? Thank you.
Further comments from the audience?
I just have a question. We sent some things through the village.
Can you come to the podium, please, and
Yeah.
introduce
Sorry.
yourself for the record?
My name is Eileen Hamilton. I'm also from Town Place. One of my concerns is we went to the village website and we submitted some letters, and then I got something back from Julie saying that we had to submit them to each of you, which some of us did, some people didn't have time. I was just wondering why she couldn't refer the letters to the people on the board, for the people that couldn't send them in.
Well, I think that the board, and they can speak for themselves, but I think there were a number of emails that included basically the same information and the same points. So I think the board coming into the meeting tonight was very well aware of the concern, and I think was very well informed of some of the concerns that you all have. So at the time, when we talked about that, we thought at the time the board was very well informed and that providing additional information really served no useful purpose. And I think you saw this evening that, the board has made the decision to take the matter under further consideration. Going forward, as the mayor said, we'll keep you informed in terms of progress and when the meeting will be
Because there was actually an
scheduled.
article in the Tribune on Sunday talking about rentals. I don't know if anyone had seen that. I could leave it for you if you'd like.
Sure, if you'd like to provide it, we can make copies and distribute it to the board.
Can I add also that when you send an email to all of us at once, if we answer to reply all, it's a conflict of an Open Meetings Act.
Oh, no, I knew that. It was just, the problem was that we got the notice and wanted to submit it to you. I wanted to get it to you before Friday, and so just to try to do all that.
And you did.
Who would like this?
Thank you.
Further comments from the audience? Council report.
No, there's another one.
One more?
Yeah.
Good evening, my name is Uday. I'm from 125 White Bench Court. 2 months ago, the committee, the planning and the development committee did meet. They also met in December. They did all their research and they also sent you a recommendation. The reason why I'm standing here in front of you is because there has been a lot of confusion in the way in which this particular ordinance is being interpreted by a lot of legal counselors. And there are certain things that have been done to our associations and bylaws which are not in the right process, which is the reason why we really want a clarification for this ordinance. So it's much easier for us to go back to our associations and clear these matters, because the more delay there are more families who will be suffering because of these amendments that are being done. So can you please consider having an interim relief or something for us, so at least we'll be able to proceed with what we need to do?
Lance, do you want to address that? So I think the issue is that the association has passed certain changes to the bylaws that limit or purport to limit the rentals in certain communities. And my understanding is that legal counsel for the association has interpreted or misinterpreted village ordinance to support that potential change. I think our attorney can comment, on what the ordinance, at least how it's been administered and applied to this point, but I don't know how that action or lack of action might impact your bylaws or what your association is doing.
So it's my opinion that the way the ordinance has been interpreted when it was passed originally as not requiring any changes to bylaws of existing condominium developments, because what it is it's an ordinance requirement that requires certain provisions to be in bylaws. So when that ordinance was passed years and years ago, staff interpreted it as prospective, meaning it was for apartments that maybe were being condominiumized for the first time, or new developments with condominiums. And there was a requirement that the bylaws of those newly created condominium associations would need to have provisions that would create a cap for the number of rentals that could be in effect for any given development. And so, but there's no limitation aside, once that the cap can't be made lower, for example. The associations remain free to amend their bylaws in any way they see fit. The code is a requirement that is a minimum, actually it's a maximum, that have to be in the bylaws.
So from what I understand...
But it wouldn't stop associations from enforcing rental restrictions that they have on their books.
They can, from what I understand, can enforce these things by following the right procedures as defined by the bylaws, right? So they have to go for the homeowner vote and stuff. But in our case, that hasn't been done so. Which is the reason why we are all here representing our association, because things have been done and we want to rectify that, and the faster we get a clarification on this, the better for us, because it's time consuming, right? Yeah. So it also means a lot of families will be suffering because of this.
And there are going to be issues regardless of what the village board does as far as enforcement is concerned, because when you have existing rentals with leases and so forth, even if they're in violation, there are limitations to what the court system would be willing to do, and as a policy matter, what you would want to have happen. So
yeah, I understand, as long as the proper process is followed. But the reason why I'm requesting is the faster you publish a clarification, the better it is for a lot of families.
Well, the board will take that up. So.
Because like we were expecting, or we were hoping that today we'll get some kind of a judgment as to what this ordinance really means, what it affects.
Yeah, no, the board is going to consider it, and staff is going to do some research in some surrounding communities as well as some other issues. So no decisions made today.
Okay, thank you.
Can you please print your name on my sheet there, please? Thank you.
Council report.
I have no report other than to state that at the close of our regular business this evening in open session, I will be asking for a motion to go into closed session, and I will ask for that motion at the time. The public should know that there is no, there will be no reconvening in open session after that.
There's another lady that wants
Yes, ma'am.
to.
Okay. Hi, my name is Dolores Leonard. I live at Town Place, and I've been living there since 2000. And we have a lot of units.
537.
Yeah, we will let 161 people rent. I think that's a lot of people renting. We're not stopping people from renting. We only want to keep it from going overboard to the point that the complex turns out to be an apartment complex and not a condominium complex. We're not against anybody moving in. We have every race, every nationality, every religion living in our condo. That is not the point. The point is we would like to keep the place belonging to the people that pay that most of the taxes there and worry about the upkeep of the neighborhood, not the people that are transit. And I think that you changing that law, which is what you're doing, you're changing the law, you're not misinterpreting it, you're changing it. You're adding an amendment. That's what we do to the Constitution. An amendment is an amendment. And I don't think you should be doing that. I don't think you're thinking about the future of Schaumburg. Does Schaumburg want to have...
That's why we're having the meetings, by the way.
No action is being taken tonight on the ordinance.
Yes.
And certainly, you can express your views and further views at the standing committee meeting.
So I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Mayor, and I appreciate all you people taking the time to listen to us.
Mayor?
Trustee.
Unfortunately, there's been some sort of misconception that we were changing the ordinance. We were merely trying to clarify the ordinance as to what it applies to, because there's been a misconception as to who and what it applies to.
Well, I don't know what the misconception
I'm not
is.
arguing, I'm just making a statement of fact.
Well, our lawyers and your lawyers, I don't know which lawyer is right. I'm not a lawyer, so.
Well, someone
you know,
has misinterpreted and misinformed many of you, saying that we are going to change.
Well,
May I finish now?
Yeah.
Okay. That we are going to change the condo rental ordinance.
Right.
And what we were doing was restating the ordinance that's on the books. And now, because there have been so many complaints about, and again, this applied only to conversions, not to existing condos such as Town Place. But you've been, in my opinion anyway, you've been misinformed to the point that we were planning to loosen this up, and that's not the plan. But if you'll come to you'll be informed about when this is coming up to discuss in committee, and you're welcome to come.
Okay.
All of our meetings are open to the public.
Right.
And you can ask any question that you want at that point. But there is nothing that happened here tonight, and as far as changing the ordinance.
Can we continue?
Well, to me, you're changing the ordinance. You won't change my mind.
I don't see how.
I mean, we talked to our lawyer. We went into it in depth.
No determination has been made yet, and certainly you can repeat your argument at the meeting of the PBD committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you
Quite
for
welcome.
Okay.
Any further council reports?
No, just that we'll go into closed session at the end.
On the president's report, there was a recommendation on the appointment of Ms. Lori Van Dames from Simon Properties at Woodfield Mall to the Schaumburg Business Development Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Also, now recommendation of the appointment of the chairperson of the Septemberfest Committee. Motion's in order?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Managers report.
I have no report this evening.
New business to come before the board? Any unfinished business? Trustee comments and mentions? Motion to adjourn to executive session is in order.
We need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Section 2C6 of the Open Meetings Act, dealing with the sale or lease of village property, to discuss setting a price for sale or lease of property owned by the village of Schaumburg.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. The clerk, please poll the board.
Trustee Kozak absent. Trustee Conley.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham. Trustee Madey.
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
Aye.
My name.
5 votes, no nays, motion carries. Would you be coming out here to open?
We will not be.
That was what that's what I have. That's